Hi, my name is Vlasta Erikson. My business is Signature Staff, and we are a recruitment and labour hire company located in Cairns, Far North Queensland. We do not discriminate against people, and that is due to the Privacy Act, which we do not require having anyone show us their medical status. And this is my story.
Welcome to Fair Go, your favourite podcast about building a better tomorrow. A podcast by the people, for the people, where we share small business stories from the business owners themselves. When you encounter unfair obstacles that are too hard to overcome on your own, remember, you don't have to do it alone. Together we can rebuild our great Southland and make Australia proud again. Join us today at fairbusinessaustralia.com.au. Well, welcome to Fair Go, a podcast by the people, for the people. I have with me today Vlasta, a business owner. We're going to ask her a little bit about her COVID journey, what she sees as being a good Australia on the other side of everything that we're going through, and any suggestions, tips, tricks that she might have for people who are listening or watching this podcast today. So Vlasta, welcome. Great to have you on the show.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your business. So, who are you? What have you done? What's your history?
Right. Okay. So my business is called Signature Staff. We're a recruitment and a labour hire company. And my specialty is within the hospitality and tourism industry. So supplying. And we are in Cairns, Far North Queensland.
Wow. There is so much in that sentence that you just said. So your recruitment for hospitality in Far North Queensland, there's just so many minefields right there. So let's pick the hospitality side of things. How has COVID's lockdowns probably devastated your business right now?
When we did really well at the beginning of this year, so we did quite well, and then as soon as the Victorian closing down every 5 seconds, really, border. But when the New South Wales borders closed down, I think it was in July. That basically devastated my business. We have dropped like probably about 70% of our revenue. Yeah, we've gone from having orders of about 30 to 50 staff per day to basically like maybe 10 staff, and that was not within the hospitality industry. That was within the aged care and other industries.
Wow!
Basically, just wiped our whole roster. Right now we've got probably about 150 people on our roster right now. And obviously with these mandates, it's actually crazy. So it's just been really, really difficult to actually supply staff. So there is a huge shortages of staff, and there is obviously whole shortages of staff. Chefs always been a shortage of chefs everywhere that's always happened, but now it's just absolutely ridiculous. We've got probably about 40 orders that I cannot fill. 40 shifts a day that we cannot fill.
And so what does that mean for the business owners themselves who are coming to you as a recruitment agency? How are they going to manage that?
Well, that's why you've had probably most of the restaurants. There was a big write-up in Cairns Post, I think. Everyone is closing down. We've got most of the pubs like the Pier Tavern. You've got PJ O'Brien's, Rattle and Hum, which are big, venues. They're all closed down due to obviously not having the staff. That because of the contact tracing. So everyone is like crazy going out there testing themselves, There is no, the rat tests are not available. So you've got the PCR test that you have to wait up to about 3 days before you get your test right. Now they're telling everyone, so a lot of restaurants, not only that they've lost staff because of the contact tracing, but they basically haven't got the staff that decided not to get the vaccination. So I have got some staff that are vaccinated. Well, I don't know if you want to call it a vaccination or not.
Well, it was vaccination. It's now under vaccinated because you have to get a booster now to be fully vaccinated. But anyway.
Yeah. So so the CV injections, that's what I would probably refer to it more like it. So, and we do have got obviously some staff that don't. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's really quite interesting to find out that the kitchen staff and the front of house staff, like food and beverage attendants, reception, and all of those sort of people are required to have the vaccinations, but the housekeeping staff is the cleaners and all that. I am able to actually provide staff that are not double.
Huh. And why do you think that is? Is it because they're...
It's some sort of a loop that is the cleaners can work without it. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. It's a very clever virus, COVID. Knows who to infect and who it can't. Maybe it's because they're spraying cleaning stuff all the time. They just think that they'll be so clean that it can't.
So there is obviously some hotels that will not accept even the cleaners because of their own policies. But yeah, that's it. But with about 150 to 170 staff that we actually currently have on our roster, I would say that, like probably 60% of those have received the COVID injection, double dose. And there is probably 40% that haven't. And and a lot of them are, like when we're trying to get them organized to actually pick up a shift, so they can't because they've flatmate tested positive for, been in contract tracing. So they have to stay and, test positive, and it's just going crazy. And I was speaking to one of my staff member today, actually, because I've asked her if she can send me through the report that she got tested. And she said, well, I haven't got a report. I've only just received the text that I am positive. And I'm like, okay, well, can you ask if you can get the report to actually say, what have you tested positive for? And if you've used the PCR test, is how many cycles have they actually used to identify that you have actually are positive? And she said she hasn't been able to get it. So I'm just wondering, like, is it everyone like that? It's like, should we actually ask people to turn around and demand their reports?
I just don't even know. The whole thing is so weird. Even with, Omicron, it's so deadly that you might not even know you've got it. Yeah. And it's like, what's asymptomatic? What does that mean? Oh, I'm asymptomatic for, polio, or I'm asymptomatic for smallpox. What does that mean? You don't have it, right? No, I've got it. I just can't tell. And neither can anyone else until they apparently get it as well.
I honestly, it's just a crazy world. But what I really like, the PCR test, as you probably know, it's the more cycles you do, the more useless the actual test is. I mean, and they know that they can't differentiate between a common cold, flu, or any variant of it. So the PCR test is also being cancelled in America as of the 31st of December anyway. So,
really? Yeah. I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
So it's not a reliable test. So I'm not quite sure why we're actually pushing for so many tests.
Yeah.
Right now, maybe they just need to get rid of the ones that they bought, I suppose.
Yeah, probably. That's probably what it is. And they're so expensive as well. I've heard, and I've never seen a price tag myself, but I've heard that they're around $200 or $120 a pop or something like that. I know that was a big gap, 200 and 120, but at least that they're over $100 a pop. That's a lot of money going down the drain, especially if you've got these double negative, we can't actually trust whether you do or not. Like, it's not great.
No, it's not. I've also supplied staff to aged care and people like that, so carers as well as cleaning staff, and they've been they actually have got, there is a couple of aged care and residential care that they have got in the health order as skill shortages exemption. So I'm trying to obviously let my clients know that, hey, we can provide you with the staff, because I have got few people that obviously did not decide, that was stood down, did not.
Right.
And so I'm trying to do that. So far, we haven't been we've been successful with a couple of properties that they decided that they're going to utilize the exemptions.
Yep.
And now that the rapid antigen test, which is red test,
Yep.
that is now available, but we can't get it now, anyway, because it's been all sold out.
Wow.
So that's crazy. So I do supply. I have also interviewed a lot of people that are against the mandates in that industry specifically.
Right.
And what I am trying to do is obviously reverse market those candidates. So I'm just doing like videos with them and actually putting them out there and seeing whether people would like to take them on under those exemptions.
Yeah, right.
So doing that, and also trying to get some of them be kind enough to actually give some information in what they think of the mandates, how they affected them.
Yep.
Personally, and if they've seen any adverse reactions and things like that. And I got a lot of probably about 6 or 7 people that basically giving me some information. So what's happening in the industry, and and it's quite disturbing. One of the candidates said that like the doctors line up because they get money for each injection. And she wasn't quite sure how much it is, but the first one is close to about $100. Okay, so you get paid.
Wow.
The second one is a little bit less than that.
Wow.
And the doctors apparently try to line up for those days, and they take 5 minutes to inject, 5 minutes to actually spend time. So basically 12 people each hour at $100 each.
Wow.
$100 each. That's for the doctor.
Well, if that's true, that's not great. And I do know a doctor that I have seen in the past. She's actually closed her practice because she was told that she couldn't even do telehealth unless she was vaccinated.
What?
Yep. So she closed her practice, and that's firsthand because I was called up and told, if you want to see the doctor, you've got to come before the 17th, because after the 17th, we can't even do telehealth.
Wow.
Yep. And a lot of doctors are being threatened with deregistration if they speak out as well. So there's this financial incentive or financial punishment, which I think is very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, I can't verify if what you're saying about the $100 is true, but if that is true, that's terrible.
Well, I mean, she couldn't confirm it. She said, look, it's somewhere, like I've heard different, $50 all the way through to $100 to even 120 from different people, what the number is, but definitely they're getting paid, for obviously administering the actual vaccination. So there is financial incentive to do that. But how can you actually have do informed consent in 5 minutes, Rebecca?
And that's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. Yep.
And I mean, all of my staff so far, like most of them that actually go out and get the injection, are sick for usually two a week, right? They drop out in shifts. They say, I'm sick. When I ask them, why are you getting it? They say, well, I'm not going to get work. So most people that are actually getting it is not because of, they are getting it because they're scared of obviously putting food on the table. I had one staff member at one day, we had 6 people booked in for a function. And 5 of them has called in sick. 4 of them was due because of the vaccine.
So how are you actually keeping your head above water, the fact that you've lost so many staff and continue to lose staff for various reasons, whether that be, having an adverse reaction to the jab or whatever that looks like? How are you keeping your head above water?
Oh, we're still busy, you know what I mean? So we're still doing it, and I'm also doing permanent recruitment. So, we've got other streams of income, okay?
Yeah.
But I certainly could be a hell of a lot busier in we are quite busy in the hospitality because people are asking for staff, but we haven't been, we probably have about maybe 40, 50 staff out each day as it is right now. you know.
Wow.
But it's you know, I could have 120 really, you know, if I could have find them. You know, I've got one of our staff members can't work at all because he had stroke from the vaccine. Another staff member had to go to the hospital and had an operation because of blood clots, and both of them were told that it's got nothing to do with the vaccine. So it's really concerning. So people are getting it because they've been coerced into it. They are not getting informed consent. And as a matter of fact, right now, we've got so many people sick, right? And in Cairns and at home. And most of the people that actually have got flu-like symptoms and test positive are the ones that actually have received the vaccine.
Wow.
So
wow.
So I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go from here.
Do you see light at the end of the tunnel, or are you more of a glass half empty person where you think,
No, I keep on fighting. I'm one of those people that obviously will be fighting, and I will be working and trying to find out how we can actually have exemptions and for people that basically, you know, can work. And obviously quite engaged with the freedom movement here in Cairns anyway. So I've been to every rally and talks with a lot of different people.
Awesome.
Guys that are part of Australia One, guys that are part of RDA, also the Common Law Assembly in Cairns. So just trying to be involved with all of those things, but also what we are facing right now is just how do we navigate through all of this and actually giving the pushback, you know, like and showing the other employers and say, look, you can have a look at your exemptions. You know, you don't have that in hospitality and tourism when you read the health orders for businesses, but you obviously have got them in other industries. So you should be able to utilize those exemptions.
Absolutely. And so what would that look like, boots on the ground, if those exemptions were to be utilized in the hospitality industry?
Oh, that would be just absolutely amazing. There's so many people that are available, but do not want to be part, you know, participants of a medical experiment, and that's what it is. You know, so, but there are people that could work, and we could fill most of those shifts, like food and beverage shifts, as well as some of the chef shifts we could do with people that basically are unvaxxed and could work right now.
Wow. So it's not great right now, but we are going to continue to push back as a community, and eventually we will get to the other side of all this. And what does Australia look like when we are on the other side of all this? What is your vision for that?
Oh, vision for Australia is, a total change of the political space, basically. Our government has got far too much overreach of our normal lives.
Yes.
And also the change of and how we actually, you know, the medical industry, the big pharma is just taking over our lives as well. I think we should be able to be, as Australians, to be able to have a freedom of speech. It's another thing. Be able to choose what we want to put into our body, and the propaganda that's happening through the government is just ridiculous, and there has to be a lot more monitoring in what the government is doing and how are they deriving to all of these decisions that we need to follow up, and they're not actually. So a lot more transparency from the government, and stop these mandates. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And will you be voting for the majors in the federal election?
Oh, I haven't voted for the majors for a long time, but definitely not actually thinking about involving myself in the political world.
Really? And you would be the fifth person that I have personally spoken to that would be doing that then?
Yeah.
And they're all small business owners, which is
Yeah.
really, really powerful. I think that this federal election is going to be entirely interesting. I really do.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah. Oh, well, I think it will be definitely interesting. I mean, there are like obviously One Nation, Pauline, I think they're doing some good work. The Great Australian Party is doing some great work as well. Obviously, the United Australian One Party with Craig Kelly is doing some great work. Australia One, Ricardo Bossi is also doing some great work, so yeah, there are a lot of different, definitely not Labor, Liberal, Nationals or Greens, because we all know they all work together anyway. So there is no,
yeah, it would be so great. I wish that the minor parties would all actually conglomerate into one party. I think that would be amazing. We'd have an entire cabinet. We could have Ricardo as the Minister for Defence. I mean, he's such a gun. He's a great guy. And, Craig and Pauline and all these other people that really know their way around. But it definitely needs to step away from the majors. It absolutely does.
But if we have hung government, then that's fine. If we've got other senators, then that means that the major parties haven't got a say.
Yeah. Absolutely. So will you stay in the recruitment space long term?
Oh, this is my business for 25 years, Rebecca. So I'm certainly not about to fall down. Okay.
Yep.
I obviously need to ensure that I've got replacement for me in the business, but I'm certainly not going to be giving my business up. I still be, invested into this as well. I still need to work out how that's all going to work, but it's interesting. So yeah, life is I'm positive. I'm one of those people that is positive, but I think that we need to see more pushback from the businesses and actually saying that, well, that's not good enough. I think that a lot of business owners, a lot of people are afraid of authority and actually questioning.
Yes.
And actually standing up, saying, hang on a minute, like I've obviously talked to a lot of business owners because obviously supply the staff, and I just asked, and I said, well, why aren't you questioning the government with these mandates? I mean, they're not law.
Yes.
They are orders, they are directives, they are orders, they are so why aren't you actually questioning it?
Yes.
Why are you pushing the narrative?
Yes.
And I don't think they're scared. And what is really, really disappointing? It's the associations that has let us down, like the TTSQ, the chambers, the associations, like obviously the unions and things like that. They sold us out, most of the industry.
Yeah.
And like I was on which is really funny, I'm a part of a TTNQ member, so I went on to one of the when the mandates were coming in, so I wanted to go to one of the Zoom. You know what, they were not discussing about the mandates, whether they're lawful or not. That they're basically giving you directions in how you need to comply.
That's astonishing.
And I'm like, I'm going, well, hang on a minute, but shouldn't we actually discuss why do we have actually these mandates?
And did you actually say that?
Yeah, I asked. Yeah.
And what was the response?
Didn't respond.
Wow.
You couldn't speak. You couldn't unmute yourself. You basically were, you couldn't be like video. Your video was stopped. You had to be muted. You could write your questions out there, but nobody responded to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting. I was just like, I didn't end up finishing it. Maybe they've answered it at the end, but I had to actually go. But I was so devastated. Had a person that basically was explaining to you how the app works.
Oh, wow.
And they had the chief police officer or something. Yeah, there was somebody high up in police saying that how are they going to monitor it and what they're going to do. And then you had the chief of TTNQ Tourism Australia, or is it
Yeah.
Tourism Queensland or something like that? And
Right.
basically just, yeah, this is how you need to comply. This is what you need to do. And there is no other way but do it. Absolutely disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And this is the issue, is that the conversation moves from that to this is how we're going to roll it out, not should we. Okay, yeah, but should we be doing that? Okay, but is that the right thing to do? That has been completely cut out of the conversation.
Yeah, no, yeah, there is no conversation about it. It's like, yeah,
Wow.
it's just like, and I think that's where the problem is, because you see, you've got a lot of people in Cairns that are actually part of, they are members of TTNQ,
Yeah.
and they just basically following what they're telling them.
Wow. And this is why we have to individually be the change. We can't wait to have a government that is rock solid in power before Australia starts to recover what has already been lost. We have to personally be the change. And this is why small business is so important, because we actually do hold the balance of power. We employ 97% of the country's population. And that's why we must stand up as business owners and step into our rights and into our power.
Yeah, have to.
Yeah.
But
So,
anyway.
So do you have any, I mean, you've been in business for a long time now, you've been successful up until COVID, and you're still doing what you can despite, you know, having your hands tied to a certain degree. Do you have any suggestions, tips, tricks for anybody that's listening to this podcast as to how they can move forward as a business owner during these times?
Inform yourself, you know, like find out what your laws are, and, you know, like obviously you don't want to break any laws. But certainly find out, you know, like what are the, you know, read those directions, you know what I mean? Are there any exemptions that you can employ staff? All right. Have those conversations with, and ring up the Queensland Health Department to explain, you know, to point you to the right directions, because there are things you can do and you can probably employ staff, but you just need to know how to do that, you know.
Yeah.
And not to be afraid of actually asking those questions.
Yeah.
Don't just take everything how the government tells you, but question it, you know, and stand up, you know, because these mandates are not lawful. And I would go as far as criminal, actually. Like, how can you push a vaccine or an injection that is provisionally approved?
Yes.
Not approved.
Yes.
On the whole population.
Yep. And that provisionally approved is on the Queensland website. It's actually government website. You can read it for yourself.
How can you mandate anything that is provisionally approved?
I don't know. It's a strange world we live in. I really don't understand why this is happening, and that, but here we are.
Yeah. I think we just need to get up and speak up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So if someone is looking to be recruited or looking to recruit, where can they find you?
So www.signaturestaff.com.au, of course. If we've got our job seekers tab, so find a job and have a look at the jobs that we're actually providing. We do not discriminate. I will definitely be speaking to people whether they have received the injections or not. Okay. Certainly don't discriminate, and actually I've got an interest in getting people that have been stood down and all that, especially to have a conversations with them, because I'm trying to do something with those candidates.
Yes.
But you can also obviously 40503888, so 3888. That's 07, obviously Queensland. You can give us a call and have a conversation with us, or send your email resume to info@signaturestaff.com.au.
Awesome. I look forward to hearing good news from Signature Staff, that you are back up to capacity, and that you're now working with hotels and hospitality venues and aged care venues that are no longer requiring staff to be jabbed, because, you know, a lot of people have already got the 2 shots, but now that the boosters are coming out and the information is coming out and the adverse reactions are coming out, we now have the opportunity again to make that decision, so that the opportunity has not been lost. It's been slightly delayed, but now that the boosters are out in force, we can make that decision again for what is good for ourselves, for our community, and for our nation.
All right, great. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Have you got an inspiring story to tell? Register your business now for your chance to be featured on our Fair Go podcast. Ready to lend a helping hand? That's great. You can chip in through the website. Remember, 100% profit goes directly back into local small business. Together, we can rebuild this great Southland for ourselves and the next generation. Go to fairbusinessaustralia.com.au.